In the tunnel.
In the tunnel.
In the tunnel. You're listening to In the Tunnel.
Hello and welcome to In the Tunnel, episode number 67. While you're just munching on some blue raspberry licorice over there, care to share with the rest of us, man?
I'd love to. Come over here and find some, Sean.
Maybe
no innuendo intended.
Maybe when Corona is not, locking us all down.
You're gonna be the only friend I have that bookends coronavirus with trips. I'm gonna make you come back out here after Corona ends because you basically were here 2 weeks before it started.
Was it only 2 weeks, really?
No, it wasn't really, but it was overseas.
Yeah, okay. I mean, for the U.S. it was probably like a month, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought.
Mid-February is when it hit the U.S., so I'd say around. But I was contained then.
Yeah.
They're not contained, but just making us, feet in the door.
By the time it went full swing was March.
Because, that's just how we do things in this country.
Yep.
It takes 2 weeks to get into all the crave, all the rage of things, and then it's an absolute just nightmare after that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like how popular memes get. Like the Crying Jordan meme. It's the talk of the internet for the next 2 weeks after that. And it's it just persistently kind of lives forever after that. Just to a decreased extent.
But didn't, was it Bryce Harper mispronounce meme during one of his interviews?
Who cares? It's a stupid word.
Alright, anyway, let's get on with the regularly unscheduled program.
Regularly unscheduled program?
Hey, I can't really say we're regularly scheduled now, can I?
We say 8:30 every time, and then we always shoot it late, so.
Also, we say, hey, let's do it this day, and then sometimes we're just 2 days later.
Hey, in our defense, we did say Thursday ever since Monday, and we didn't back down from that.
Yeah, true.
Even though we didn't have a time for recording until about 2 hours ago.
Yep.
It just was hey, gonna finish up graphics, we're gonna do this tonight.
Yep. Alright, so first we're gonna talk about the NFL. And so our topic is, can you put the N95 surgical mask onto an NFL face mask?
So the thing is, and I know we talked about this before the show, what's important to talk about during the show now, in addition to what we talked about and we'll say during the show, or before the show is, our before the show components were, you put a mask over your ears, you put your ears under the helmet, why can't you just wear a mask? It would be under your face mask anyway. What's the difference?
Other than the
presence of a mask.
I'm pretty sure players would complain about oxygen intake, and you'd have all of them trying to go for oxygen every 5 seconds.
I mean, don't play in Denver.
Yeah.
Take the Broncos out of the equation this year. I think we have something.
Okay, because... but my problem with this is if you're gonna put it on the face mask, how are you gonna seal the mask properly, right? It still has to go on and off people's head.
Well, that's the thing, is if you're gonna put it on the face mask, or essentially not flush on someone's face, what's the point of doing it at all? Because, like, spit flies in any direction. Wind takes things in any direction.
Right.
So,
and
science
again,
will not prevail.
But also, face masks are not to, like, prevent intake. It's more to prevent you from spreading something.
True.
So, like, if it's so far from your face and there are other holes in the mask, what the heck's the point?
And also, like, as a spit, a lot. How many NFL players can you name it or like count when you watch a game that don't spit on the ground or something?
I'm pretty sure if somebody actually paid attention, that number would be in the single digits.
Now, no, granted, most spitting is probably done on the sideline.
Yeah.
When they get like their Gatorade and their gum involved and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which probably makes it worse because you then spread it amongst your team. But, I mean, But the other thing is, how do you make an N95 mask that's durable enough to not get ripped off by a defensive player or anything like that if you're a lineman on either side?
I mean, even if you put the N95 mask like directly on the face here and then wear a mask over it, there are multiple plays in the NFL during the season, during a single game, where players' masks come off, and that force might just be good enough to snap the band and fly the mask off.
We said in the pre-show, like, they might have to be, like, when their helmet comes off, you have to take a play off. You might have to, do that to get a new mask because, thankfully we're not in a shortage as much anymore of masks. But my question really was about to be, if the helmet is made out of metal-based materials, no N95 mask that most people outside of, a respiratory or cardiac or emergency room department use contains that.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you incorporate a material that works with that? Because
I don't think the other material is a problem, more so than other gaps in the overall helmet.
Like the ears?
Yeah, because it's more places for air to escape that isn't through the mask membrane.
But you can put flaps over the ears.
Yeah, but but if you look at a standard mask, right, you have the full face mask that's open except for the bars. And you have, like, all the holes around the ears. There's, like, 4 or so. Right? So, like, when they put the mask, sure, that covers, like, the bottom part of your face, right, to your nose. But then there's still so much. Like, and especially if it's not on your face. Like, what are they going to do to the eyes?
So here's what I'm thinking. Which, is not always great. You take a mask, sew it through the face mask on the inside of the face mask. Take another one outside of the face mask. You have 2 layers. Then you incorporate some kind of mesh to kind of bridge the gap that sits on the player's chin underneath.
Okay. It could work, but I'm still skeptical. And for the love of God, we both agree in the pre-show, we want to see mock-ups of what the heck they're talking about.
I think they're just talking about bubble wrap.
Or what I said, those, like, games that they have, like, audience members in between, like, in the NBA, it's, like, in between the periods.
The halftime.
Yeah, where they're just in the beach ball or whatever. It's like, hey, maintain social distancing, play football where all players are in that.
Yeah, but then you have to change the rules to the game to be like,
hey, you already
First of all, how do you throw the ball to a receiver in a ball?
Hey, you already have to change
Second of all, how do you run the ball? and hand it off to someone in a ball.
How do you snap?
Third of all,
First,
with the amount of buffer room that you have, 10 yards isn't good enough anymore.
hold on.
You have to make it like first and 35.
First argument is, how do you snap? Everything else comes after.
Well, I imagine that there's a hole in the bubble for that kind of exchange, Sean. But on the move, it's going to be hard. And again, if you expose your arms or any body part
Yeah.
that exchanges a ball with other people, you might as well just not wear the bubble anyway, because
Yeah, but the other point
you're
is,
still spreading to some extent.
the other point is, like, they have to change the rules a little, like, for this anyway, right? Like, we were talking, like, hey, if the mask flies off, you have to go get a new one on or whatever, right? So you're already looking at. I just took it to an extreme because I thought it would be really it would be really funny to see that. Plus, it will adhere to social distancing to an extent.
I just love how you say before that there would potentially be oxygen issues, and then you want to put everybody in a ball
Yeah,
and just assume that they're not going to fall over each other. And if it's one of those balls where it's like conforming to their body, how there's not going to be oxygen issues there, because they're literally just skin tight in a ball of themselves. It's like, oh yeah, I'm sure the air's going to be able to get out plenty fine.
Hey, you gotta think outside the box, man.
Bubble.
Think outside the bubble.
Yeah. And then you pop the bubble because that's not the best idea, it turns out.
Yeah, nope, not a good idea at all. All right, anything else you want to say about this before we?
I want to see the designs. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, both of
That's
us say.
the only intrigue here.
Yep, we really
Other
want to
than
see
whatever-
those designs.
Yeah.
Maybe this will make a return when we get these designs.
I mean, the internet went crazy about what Antonio Brown's hypothetical spray-painted Raiders helmet would look like. And no mock-ups of an N95 helmet have come out in 2.5 days so far.
Hopefully we
There's
get
got to
one.
be someone, yeah. I'm surprised that Roger Goodell hasn't had a field day bragging about it yet.
All right. Anyway, moving on. Next we're gonna talk about the NHL. So first we are going to finish our playoff bracket. So from the East, the last match we have is the Canadiens and the Capitals.
Mm-hmm.
And from the West, the last match we have is the Stars and the Avalanche. Right?
Okay.
So we'll be doing both of those plus the Stanley Cup today.
And then we'll actually talk about what might actually happen in the real world.
Yeah, we'll talk about that after, okay? Like, we got to get through the real, this, people have been waiting.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So,
Indeed, they have been.
you have any thoughts on the first matchup, which will be the Canadiens and the Capitals?
Just stop it. Do I have any thoughts? No.
Hey, you had thoughts when
I'm obviously anti-capital, so knowing the wheel.
But can we really have a Canadian team make it to the Stanley Cup?
I mean, it would be the first time in like 28 years. But,
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. The Canadians are, they never talk about how many cups they've ever won. So, would be nice. Change of pace.
All right, well, let's see.
With our 23 cups since the NHL's founding.
So
There you go.
the
Canadians in
Canadians take it in 6.
So you do.
All right. On to the next one, which will be the Stars and Avalanche. How about this one? Do you have any thoughts?
Green and maroon are very different colors. Let's see. Yeah, the Dallas Stars, ever since like the series
Minnesota
against
North Stars?
the Dallas Stars, I was gonna say, I feel like I can't take seriously or envision them in a Stanley Cup final because like I only know their Stanley Cup finals for having the foot in the crease goal, Brett Hall. And so that's kind of a fake title. So, but the Avalanche are kind of in the same boat, minus the goal that wins the title. They haven't really won anything since that time frame either.
Okay.
So, I don't know who won more recently in the 90s.
I don't even know.
I think it was the Avalanche. So no, it was the Stars. So let's go Avalanche.
Okay. I'm rooting for the Avalanche in this one also.
And I'm wrong. Stars in 7.
Stars in 7. So that's a close one, which means that our final match is Christmas.
Beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
Yeah,
Christmas
so for
movies.
those listening in, our wheel is colored red and green.
Right, like the colors of May and June and July.
All right. And because Canada can't possibly win a Stanley Cup yet, it's too early in their drought. We're going to say, or I'm going to say the Stars win this.
Is Dallas in Canada? I guess it might as well be. With the amount of complaining about the Cowboys. Sure. I'll go with the Canadians as well. And we got it right. It was the Canadians in 6.
Well, you got it right.
You said the Canadians.
No, I
didn't you?
said I don't want Canada to win.
Too bad.
So the Canadians and Canada win a Stanley Cup for the first time in what, like 30 years?
All led by PK Subban being traded away.
Hasn't that happened long enough ago at this point so he can't be attributed to anything that happens on the Canadian?
I don't know. He was the guy from like the 90s who got traded in like just this year. Did the cycle finally come to an end because the guy this year retired?
Okay.
So trades can live forever. Ooh. Trades can live forever, almost like spilling a beer on your keyboard, which luckily I did not just do.
All right. Now let's talk about the NHL trying to do playoffs again.
Sure. So, what we know is, to some extent,
They want a 2014 playoff.
no. What they do know is if they come back, it will be 24 teams. I saw an interview after I read the article here.
Uh-huh.
What they do know for sure is that there will be a 24 team playoff system.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll kind of like be older, mid to late 2000s, where they do it by conference instead of division, which to some extent they still kind of do with the wild card.
Yeah.
But it'll kind of be meshed where it's all sort of that way.
Okay.
So instead of having, what is it, 4 of the 5, or is it 3 of the 5 scenarios being division matchups, it'll be all inclusive.
Okay.
And what we do know now, but we don't know which cities, is that if the NHL does do this, it is going to be they're going to kind of do what baseball has been talking of doing, which is the hub city thing.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of iffy stuff here because the game belongs to Canada, but most of the teams are in the United States. So it's hard to envision a scenario where you take Canada and their cities out of the equation because just morally and for business sake, it makes more sense to keep it there. But at the same time, by doing that, you open up, more potential problems with visas and stuff like that at a time where the United States and Canada, the border is still kind of closed for travel.
Yep.
So it gets a little bit more iffy there too.
I mean, and really, like, it will be weird if they kind of have to do this, but as a fan, it'll be weird because, like, the teams that are winning or are in, like, the race, right? They might not even be playing near their fans. I mean, I understand because, like, there's gonna be no fans at the game.
Yeah, it's hard. There's most likely not even going to be mascots or anything like that. There's going to be no visual or branded representation of your team other than, what's on the scoreboard and the people around you that are playing the game or coaching staff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be hard.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I guess that's where social media kind of helps. If there is a way to incorporate things like, or maybe we'll see an NHL that kind of embraces more music and soundtrack systems during the games, kind of like the NBA does, to now pump in sound at momentum-based occasions. But when you're also playing in hub cities, and it's more neutral site, it's kind of, it kind of plays to bias if you do that too much.
Right.
So you can't really do that now that you think of it. I don't know. This one's hard, but, at least it's not like the MLB where there's a financial scenario at stake here, too.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the season has been played, and those contracts have been pretty much paid out because they're based on the regular season for the NHL players.
Right.
And plus you're looking at, with 24 teams playing that, a lot of them are getting the chance to experience something that they may not otherwise have gotten. That's 8 additional teams. So
yeah.
Let's see. So how it works based on the article is top 4 seeds in each conference, which would be Boston, Tampa Bay, Washington, and Philly in the East, St. Louis, Colorado, Vegas, and Dallas in the West would be receiving buys through the first round, much like how we did ours. But they would participate in a 3-game tournament to get some kind of action going. So they'd do, I guess, scrimmages amongst each other, which seems, like a scouting advantage for them that other teams don't get.
Yeah.
But, at the same time, otherwise the other teams don't get to, or those 8 teams don't get to market themselves to their fan base that's missed them either. So you kind of have to give equal time there. And then the play-in series would be a best-of-5 game series, which I think is how we drew ours up. And then the rest of it would be best-of-7.
Okay, I'm pretty sure we just did best-of-7 all the way through.
Okay, yeah. That makes sense, too. But yeah, that's the scenario. Unlike the MLB, where there's been rumors
We'll
On
get
a
to the
time frame,
MLB.
there's been rumors on a time frame. There is no time frame that's set right now with the NHL. There's been no rumor as to when a return might be there, but both them in the NBA have not ruled anything out.
All right. Okay, so let's take a break from the major sports leagues and return a segment that's been gone for quite a while. So we are gonna, or we looked at Facebook Marketplace in Phoenix, and here are some of the weird things that we found, or
Yes.
you found.
And I will say, for the first time, we threw something not bad looking into the mix too, as a slight compliment to what you can find.
Yep.
All right,
Okay.
there we go. So the one cool thing that you can find, and I think this goes for any sport, you find a sports league where they kind of cross over the memorabilia into another, and it looks nice enough to pull it off.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the Suns hockey jersey might be a better seller than the current Coyotes jersey if they wore that. Like, I think that the logo is plain enough to work for hockey. Plus, it just fits in the center, and in hockey, the logo just kind of does that.
I mean, I personally think you take like the border of the Sun basketball away, and it's like 100 times better, but it does a pretty good
Oh,
one.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, keep in mind, this is from the 90s,
Yeah,
for sure.
I know. I'm just
Because
saying,
they changed the logo a lot since then. But
even if you just take that, right? Take out the white border and move the logo down a little bit, and it's still perfectly acceptable to buy.
Mhm.
If it was sold from like Arizona or whatever.
Yeah, and it ships, it looks like, based on the picture. So if anyone wants it, $85 and $7 shipping. Contact.
I don't think they're gonna ship to many places far away.
Why not?
$7 shipping is it'll be more to ship it farther.
Well, I don't know. Maybe it's one of those flat rate boxes.
I don't know. Hopefully, hope for your sake.
Plus, you can fold it really small and then probably just put it in regular mail.
True.
Just in like a bubbled envelope.
All right.
Just to get back to bubbles.
So, we also have a $120 Phoenix Suns signed ball.
Right. And so, let me say, I do not think that this was signed by the current Suns roster. One, because they don't have anyone with the number 34, I don't believe. Actually, 34 was Charles Barkley, so that adds some value to the ball. But the thing here is, if you're going to get a ball signed, don't choose a ball that looks like a bird shit on it.
The thing
this
looks
thing
like it's
is
been so used.
Yeah, this thing was either used a lot and then signed, or signed and then used a lot. This ball can't go in a display case because it's basically been ruined.
Yep.
This thing is not worth half of what you pay for it. Plus, I don't know, the ball itself just looks like a piece of crap. It looks like a $3 ball.
Mm-hmm. All right, and then we also have a 27-year-old Coke bottle that's a Phoenix Suns collectible.
And by the way, if you look close enough, if you're watching the video, you can see the fucking mold at the top of the bottle. Like, you can see the green
starting
in the soda bottle, because it would be worth more if you poured it out and cleaned out the bottle. But the second part of this is, like, the collectible of being conference champions. We can never hesitate it enough. I know that the Suns have never won a finals, but the conference champion never, even if you don't win the finals, is never worth its weight in gold after the fact. It's
Right.
good for that stretch until the finals begins. But after that, whatever happens is you'll get finals or, championship, true championship memorabilia and collectibles, or you'll be upset that the season didn't end the way you wanted to and not want the collectibles in itself.
Right.
So this guy who's been holding on to it for a long time and might have some VHS tapes in the background now that I'm looking at the picture, needs to just pitch this because you're holding on to a memory that a lot of people don't want.
Right. All right. Next set.
All right.
So hey,
yeah.
I heard you wanted 2007-ounce solo cups, man.
And because when the liquor stores are closed up here in PA and you can't get it anywhere, I need all those cups.
Also,
7 ounces, man.
7 ounces. Come on.
This guy's marketing for this stuff is like 7-ounce cups, man. Like, dude, it's only like a day's worth because they're all like shot glasses. So yeah, $30 for a case of 2000. I mean, credit to where it's due. That's probably a steal financially.
Yeah.
If you own like, I don't know, 4 pickup trucks and can pull this off, because whatever kind of pickup.
I'm sure I can, deconstruct that pallet into my sedan.
But do you really want to?
No,
because
I don't.
Unpacking it when you get back to your place of residence.
No, I don't want to do it. I'm just saying, like, you don't need a pickup truck.
We're playing this out regardless. You get home, it's more of a drag than unloading and like putting away groceries. Because think about like the 8 or 9 bags of groceries that you bring in, and then think about how much more this is in cups. It's got to be at least 20 times that.
So it seems like it's 3 boxes, 3 boxes by 4 boxes by at least 3. So that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's 12 per, I guess, column or whatever.
Well, what we haven't talked about enough yet is that this is Phoenix, Arizona, where there's a dry heat. You gotta stay hydrated. 7 ounces is not gonna get you there.
Not at all.
So, like, I would skip the 7-ounce cups and just go straight for the gallon.
Okay, well, if I can't interest you in 2000 7-ounce cups, how about a Phoenix Suns 15-inch TV?
Is it widescreen?
Does it look widescreen?
I don't know, Sean. No. We do this podcast on audio, too.
No, it does not look widescreen.
All right, so not only is this thing not widescreen, I don't even think it's, like, properly square.
It's a 4:3 aspect ratio. It seems like it's...
Yeah, and it's got a handle on the top in case you need your basketball themed TV to go.
Oh, and
you know how TVs are always to go.
But I forgot to mention, it's for the ever low price of $100.
Oh, for a 15-inch TV? Yeah. What a steal. Keep in mind, you can get a 65-inch off with all the bells and whistles for like $450.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll gladly give you $100 just to look at whatever misery this is and just let it sit and collect dust, because
I mean, it looks like it's collected enough
This thing
dust.
Doesn't even have an HDMI cord, bear you. So break out the RGAs and get your... See if you remember which color, because there's always one on those I was like, not the same color as the back of the TV. So if you remember what that is, this is a deal for you.
All right, well, if I can't interest you in a $100 15-inch TV, how about the Arizona Coyotes NHL super awesome Coyotes hockey school Bauer jersey that is large size.
So it says Coyotes Hockey School on the jersey. So this guy who said it was super awesome is definitely right there trying to sell you something that he doesn't want badly.
Didn't you get that from my voice?
I was just hoping that you did a bad job of selling a product.
But it's for the, it's a very reasonable $45.
Ships for free. So if I want it and I don't have regrets about it, and believe me, I will have regrets about it, I can track down the guy as he's going to the post office and tell him, you know what? I'm sure they have a trash can there. Just put it in there, and I'll fly to Arizona and get it myself. I'll meet you at the dump. But yeah, I think that, again, these for the right price are cool collectibles and stuff to have. But used clothing, A, always has somebody else's smell to it, and B, this is hockey school. That kind of smell is not something that you can get out of the wash. And then C, the prices in these Phoenix items are too high. This is a $5 shirt, not a $45 shirt. You gotta mark it down to its true value and realize this might be somebody's like lazy Sunday kind of eBay treasure, but this is not your regular like bargain bin price.
Yeah.
You gotta knock this thing down to like gas station DVDs.
All right. Well, maybe my next page of products can entice you.
Oh, Sean, you've done such a good job so far. I can't imagine that I'll be able to deny it.
So what about a children's bicycle for $200 that's just been all over this family's bed?
So, can you prove to me it's not an adult bicycle? Because the way that, and how do I describe this for audio purposes, the way that this bike tire pretty much takes up the room from, I'm guessing, a dresser to the end of the bed, leads me to believe this bike might not be children's.
But the person holding it seems small enough to ride it.
Okay, so does the apartment.
Yeah.
The apartment is like the size of the Phoenix Suns TV. This bed must be like 8 inches by 12 inches.
Okay, how about we say young adult and meet in the middle?
You know what? I'll just settle for kids.
Okay.
By the way, I want the catnip toy in the background.
All right. Well, anyway, this is the low price of $200.
Yes, $200, and it comes with a throw-in of a woman wearing pajamas and the guy who decided that this picture, which, well, you'll see if you watch the broadcast, this picture was the best one to put up. Because trust me, if you want to track this down, all the other pictures are worse.
It's hilarious.
And it just shows off how bad the apartment is and shit.
Dude, there was a picture of this thing basically in the bed.
Yeah.
Like sleeping.
The guy who's holding the handlebars in the main picture definitely spoons with the bike at night. And something tells me that if you want this bike, you're in competition with about 13 mice that live in the apartment for it, because they probably have top bid, and they may have called dibs on this thing with something more than words.
All right, if I can't entice you with a bicycle, how about what everybody in Phoenix actually wants?
Philadelphia stuff.
Allen Iverson, Philadelphia 76ers jersey for $40.
And not only is it a jersey, it's, how do I explain this? They took the normal Sixers jersey part away and basically pasted a Slam magazine cover as the front of the jersey.
Yeah, that's why it's even better, dude. Like, this
is like worse than like seeing someone in a fraternity shirt. It's like, to what extent do you want to do a shitty organization's marketing and promoting for them and giving them money? Like, I hate on fraternities because basically you're paying to make friends and then just to promote an organization that no longer needs you in a couple of years. But this is like, magazine racks still exist. You don't need to do this. I get that newspapers are kind of like a dying medium, but like, not to the extent where you have to rent out the billboard that is your chest and stomach.
All right.
So that's a hard path for me.
All right. If I can't entice you with that one, how about a Arizona Cardinals oil pump for the just reduced price of $1,350? Previously was $2,400.
Sold. Tell me how it works.
Hey, I didn't tell you instructions came with it.
Oh, so I'm just supposed to figure out how to pump my own oil?
Yep.
And how do I get the oil in the pump, pray tell?
Good question. No instructions, and I just sold it to you.
Bear in mind another question here. Why do I need an oil pump if I have something that's holding oil that I would pour into a pump? Do I not already have a container that fits the job of oil pump?
Maybe you just need another oil container for more oil.
But why does it have? Why of all things does this have to have the football team's logo on it? And
probably because the football team can sell the most thing.
And also, why was this thing reduced in price by $1,050?
I can't answer that one for you.
You have to tell me that something's wrong there for the price bump down, or not bump, but price cut to be like, oh, I'll take a little bit off the top of the price here. I don't know, 35% of it. Or something along those odds. So, yeah. I mean, hey, can't put it in your man cave. That's the thing. It's cool branding, but if you're the guy who hosts the football watch party and in your basement is an oil pump, you probably don't want a beer out of that dude's fridge.
What if the dude?
There's no telling what liquid is where.
But like, what if the dude completely cleaned it out and was serving beer from it?
Can you entirely clean out oil?
Well, I mean, you'd probably put like a space for the, what's it called, the jug, the beer jug, keg, yeah, that thing. Sorry, and then you just route it through that instead of, fully cleaning out oil.
So you have to pay almost $1,400 for an oil pump to take it apart.
Discounted.
But you still have to throw a straw or a hose through the pump system to keep it more sanitized than what's in the oil pipes.
Yeah. Yes. But you're not telling me.
I would pay $500 for that kind of labor.
Okay. You would at least pay something.
Yeah, I'd pay to visit. And as always, we end with something very funny. And credit to the Phoenix area, it wasn't easy to find the stupid shit. But once we found an oil pump, again, no pun intended here, hit the jackpot. That's like California Gold Rush kind of oil.
All right. Anyway, now that that little excursion is done, let's get back to the major sports leagues
Yeah, let's start planning our trips to Phoenix.
with the NBA. All right. So, a bunch of teams have either opened or will open their practice facilities for voluntary workouts.
Indeed, they will.
So, anything stick out to you from the teams?
Yeah, so let's take a look here because I'm really curious. We're going to take a look at the NBA standings here. I'm curious as to how many of these teams are playoff bound that open up their facilities, and how many of them are just wasting their time here with 3 weeks left in the hypothetical regular season.
So, what are we looking at? Like Lakers?
All right. So let's see. Also, congrats to Wikipedia for having a page on the 2020 NBA playoffs that haven't started yet. Let's see here, once I find it. God damn, what's the point of having ESPN if they can't show up on goddamn Google?
Oh.
It's alright, we're finding it.
Anyway, the teams that are on this list are the Cavaliers, Trailblazers, Nuggets, Grizzlies, Heat,
Got it.
Magic, Bucks, Raptors, Hawks, Pacers, Jazz, King, Lakers, Clippers, Rocket, and Pelicans.
Okay, so the Cavaliers are the first team on the list. They are 19-46. They are the second worst team in the NBA.
All right, they're out.
Right? The Trailblazers, who right now would be 3.5 games out of a playoff spot. So if there was a regular season, there's a chance. But keep in mind, they're also 8 games under 500. But the West is kind of weak this year. You don't have to be 500 to make it.
Correct.
But then again, in the East, you don't have to be either. Let's see. Denver is the 3 seed in the West at 43-22. So, when you're one of those middle seeds, anywhere from 3 to 6, you take whatever you can get. You're not in a solidified position, so you need something. All right. Moving on to the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies do benefit because they got to get their ass in gear. They're 32-33. They're holding down the 8th spot in the West.
Okay.
So with Portland and New Orleans and Sacramento chasing, they need the extra reps.
Okay.
To distance themselves from the metaphorical pack. Let's see here. By the way, the Suns only 6 games back of the Grizzlies is kind of sad. Let's see here. We have the Heat. Heat are number 4 in the East. So not clinched, but they'd be okay. Right. By the way, the only team that's clinched in the West is the Lakers, and they are opened up. The Lakers are number 1 in the West. The Magic are number 8 in the East.
So they need to get their ass in gear.
They have a 5.5 game lead on the Wizards, so they're okay.
Okay.
The Wizards have already lost 40 games, and they're the 9 seed, so everybody after that is out pretty much, including the Knicks. I know that the Knicks are not actually out, but they're the Knicks. They were never really in.
The Bucks?
The Bucks are the number 1 team in the East, 6.5 ahead of the Toronto Raptors, so they're fine.
They're fine. The Raptors are next.
Raptors
They're
are
second.
number 2 in the East, yep. The Atlanta Hawks are the second to worst team in the East. They're 34 games back of first place. And
They don't need to come back.
They're 11 games back of Orlando. They ain't doing anything. Let's see
Pacers?
here. The Pacers are number 5 in the East, 39-26.
Okay. Jazz?
The Jazz are number 4 in the West. Yeah, they could benefit from it. Plus, they probably need some team chemistry healing after all the coronavirus stuff that happened there.
All right, the
Um,
Kings.
Kings tied for ninth place, basically.
Okay.
I guess technically 10th, but they've played less games than Portland.
Okay. Lakers
Yeah, we already got through the Lakers. The
and the
Clippers. Clippers are number 2 in the West at 44-20. Then you have
The Rocket.
Rockets 6th in the West.
Yeah.
And then to top it off, the Pelicans, who are in that three-way tie at around ninth place in the West.
All right. So, any notable teams that are like on the cusp or in the playoffs that aren't looking to open?
So right now, based on process of elimination here, we have in the West the Thunder and the Mavericks
Okay.
are in the playoff picture, not opened yet.
Okay.
And then in the East, we have Boston, who's the number 3 seed.
Okay.
Philly, but Philly's kind of big
Yeah,
right now
we're
with
not
the
opening that.
cases. Brooklyn,
Yeah, we're not opening that one either.
and that's pretty much it.
Okay. All right.
So yeah,
I mean, I do think we're, as a society, we're going to have to start opening up things more. And voluntary workouts, they're voluntary, right? So it's not like they're being forced.
well, you also have to keep in mind a lot of the things about most major sports is where people play is not, or where the players play is not often where they live,
Yeah.
except for the times where they're playing.
Yeah.
So it's not exactly very appealing to jump on a plane right now
Mhm.
where the transmission likelihood
Yeah.
is kind of higher because you're not able to social distance. So,
Okay.
yeah, it's voluntary workouts, but as we move towards a return, I'm wondering how much pushback we're going to get on players to, if you can just say, hey, I'm out for this season, there shouldn't be any negative press about it.
Mhm.
There's a guy who plays for the Cavaliers who I believe is a diabetic and has Crohn's disease. Now, the Cavaliers aren't going anywhere this year. So that guy in a contact sport like basketball, or used to be contact sport,
Not a
guy-
contact sport
that-
anymore, dude.
that guy has to tap out. That
Yeah.
guy has to say, you know what, for the betterment of like me not dying, I
No way.
can't play it.
No
So-
way.
So there should be absolutely no repercussions to doing that.
Yep.
All right.
All right, and to our final major sports league, the MLB.
Yeah, it's about time we talked about baseball.
All right, so we have just some points to talk about. So, what they're looking to do, an 80-game season that starts in July, which is basically a month away at this point.
Right. So that's the rumor is the July start.
A
With a
universal
couple-
designated hitter.
Right, because I think what they're doing, because they're doing the hub plan like they're doing in baseball. So they're either going to hub it up in Florida, Arizona, or both. Or I think maybe even 3 cities, I think I saw, is the conferences or the divisions are going to be split into 3 10-team divisions.
Mm-hmm.
But that combines teams like the Yankees, the Pirates, Phillies,
Yeah,
Orioles.
makes sense.
They'd all be in the same
Yeah, it makes sense.
division. So you can't do the typical no DH or DH. Like,
All right. They're looking at an extended roster, so 30-man main roster and a 20-player we'll call taxi squad. You want to explain
right.
that?
So basically, what I take taxi squad to mean is that it's kind of like in hockey when the minors season ends and you're able to kind of like have them for practice
Call up a few.
scenarios. Yeah. So, because minor leagues have already suspended themselves for this year.
Uh-huh.
If I'm not mistaken, at least on some levels.
I'm pretty sure they have, because it's a
yeah.
lot less profitable running those leagues.
Yeah. So what they're going to do is basically you'll have your ability to do like inter squad scrimmages, stuff like that. And then if you have call ups, they're already the benefit of being local.
Yep.
The problem here is you're, increasing the size of the pool of players that are in one spot.
Yeah.
And you're doing so by, let's see, what's 20 times 30 here, Sean?
600.
Okay. So that's a lot of people to add into the mix. That's enough to fill a hotel.
All right. Well, along with that, they're looking at a 14-team postseason. I'm just like, why don't you just round or make it a nice number like 15, where like half the teams in each of the cities make it.
But you have 2 conferences. How would that work?
No. But if they're splitting it 3 cities, right?
2 or 3.
I mean, if they do 3, then it's
but if
like,
they do 3 divisions, then yeah, I guess.
But then you'd have to like structure it properly because
right, and
who's weird
with 15 teams? Who's getting the ultimate bye?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, are you gonna do like a President's Trophy kind of thing, where it's like this team? And how are you going to assess which team is truly the weakest? Mm-hmm. That the ultimate bye ends up playing against that bracket.
Yeah. All right, and then they're looking at doing playoffs in home cities. I mean, I hope that will happen.
At this point, the playoffs are going to be like in November, December. So
yeah, so like, I mean, some places are just going to be like freezing cold. Other places are going to be fine. And then
I'd love to see baseball in the snow, though.
Yeah, that'd be.
We won't see snow like that in December, but it would be fun, especially if it was like Kansas City or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, but the most interesting thing that I at least saw was that there's a complete 50-50 split of revenue between players and owners.
I mean, the thing is that the players want all their money because they're basically deemed as, essential workers for the purpose of sports here.
Mm-hmm.
They want to be properly compensated for going out and playing a sport and putting the social distancing thing to the side, which is understandable.
Right.
So, and the revenue streams that an owner would have outside of, from broadcasting and stuff like that is limited now to the game itself and those broadcasts and stuff like that, because without fans, without concessions, without in stadium shops, 50-50 raffles, and all those other things that they do, there is a loss of a lot of revenue streams. So it takes away from the owner, but by doing it 50-50, you're saying, hey, there's so much less money that's coming in that the players need a bigger chunk to solidify their status and their desire to play. So the owners kind of have to offer an olive branch and kind of be like, so this is where we'll go to make that happen. So kudos to most owners for being able to extend that, because I feel like, especially in a sport like baseball where the salary caps aren't all the same, it's probably harder in small markets to be able to pull that off.
I mean, and the other thing is, like, if you're hubbing every team, you have also other essential staff that's going to be there, like trainers and all those people.
Travel costs initially will be higher because you have more people to bring.
Yeah, you have so many people to converge at these cities.
Right, but in theory, your travel costs after a while diminish because it's not cross-country flights. They're much different. And also keep in mind, the overhead costs of the lighting of stadiums and playing things on the Jumbotron and
Mhm.
all that other stuff that you would have to do at least 90 times a year, those overhead costs go away in theory. A lot of stadiums do sometimes still keep the lights on
Right.
at night. I know that the PNC Park does. But if you were able to say, money's so tight where,
Mhm.
because it a split of a park, because I'm guessing that there's not 30 different parks in Arizona,
Right.
because I'd say like 10, 12 teams do Arizona spring training, somewhere around that.
Yeah.
So at worst case scenario, you're probably splitting time with another club, uh, you know,
Yeah.
in their facilities. So that trims down on the overhead cost too. Plus, you know, those are already there. Plus, the added benefit is you really just need a field with major league dimensions.
Right.
And
I mean,
cities
yeah, I get it. I'm just
cities sometimes have that without having to be a full-on stadium.
right.
And keep in mind, there's going to be minor league stadiums up for grabs here.
Yeah, no, I get that, and I'm not saying like I'm just saying that like you're converging so many people into these cities, like it just it's it's more of a logistical nightmare at the beginning than I think like you have to be very prepared for it. I'm not saying anything else. Like I understand there's enough stadiums or just baseball fields that are the right dimensions in these states.
Well, now that I think about and bring up the fact that there's minor league stadiums, keep in mind it doesn't matter single A, double A, triple A, independent even.
Yeah.
I mean, you could probably spread yourselves out like 20 minutes apart and be okay in mostly
But still, and you also
within
want
the
to.
team, but when you go and play and are in the same grounds as another team that you're playing,
I
it's
mean,
out the window.
you probably don't want to split every team to their own field though, because that's more logistics, more travel, like just another place to upkeep, right? You're probably gonna like have two teams share in most cases.
Yeah, I don't know. That one's hard because landscapers and all that other, to right now, there's not a lot of, green lit areas for working.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can open up the economy a little bit and allow people to have jobs like keeping the field or something like that, I think that there's an audience who would entertain doing that.
Right.
Or even sanitation, because some people are at that point in time, where the wallet is thin, they need that. So I think they would take that, and you probably have a lot of time when you don't have to worry about the seating and cleaning that up. You just have to worry about dugouts, bullpens, locker rooms, stuff like that. There's plenty of time to get those areas disinfected.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. It could work in a number of ways. I'm curious as to where that will go.
And
I'm
last thing, I also heard that like it's also going to be like the players aren't going to be forced to play if they are in similar situations to the basketball player, like with Crohn's disease and all that, right? You can't just force a player to play.
I don't think in any of these sports you can force a player to
Yeah,
play.
so I mean,
First of all, Dustin Bufflin would have been with the Winnipeg Jets this year if he was forced to play.
I mean, he was forced not to play for another team.
Yeah, by choosing not to.
Yeah, well, by choosing not to play for Winnipeg.
Or, until now he's a free agent, so he could play with any team.
Yeah. All right.
It was maybe one of the more productive talks about sports we've had here tonight.
Yeah.
It felt kind of therapeutic in a sense.
Anything to end on, Jeremy?
Now I just come to the point in my misery where I realize now that we've talked about this, what do we do next week?
We'll find out.
We
Find out next
just,
week, guys.
We just went through a lot of stuff that we kind of had been shelving for a while.
Yeah. Well, find out next week. That is, if our unscheduled program comes next week.
Unscheduled because we tried doing scheduled ones and we couldn't commit to it.
Yep. All right. Thanks for tuning in and catch you next time.
Yep.